Do these stats tell you that Dak Prescott is being underrated right now?
No. My eyes tell me that Dak is a middle-of-the-pack quarterback. I think you're going to agree with me on a lot of this stuff, Skip, that Dak did not look like a top-tier quarterback for the lion's share of the season. Yeah, he had some good games. You look at what he did against Tampa. You look at that great game that he had against an overtime against the New England Patriots. Dak benefited from playing in a bad division. Skip, he went 6-0 in the NFC East, 17 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Against everyone else, he was 5-6, 21 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. And we saw what happened in the postseason. And we've seen this far too many times. Even you talked about how they got off to the great start and how they fizzled down the stretch. 2 years ago, it was the exact same thing. And so for what I've seen now, Dak is entering into his 6th season. We should already know, okay, Dak is up here. Dak is here. This is where he is, Skip. We know what he is now. I get all these 400-yard games, Skip, but here in 2020, he threw for 400 yards against Cleveland. They were down 27. At no point in time did this game, it got close, but then Odell hit that reverse on them, took them out of there. They were down 20. They did come back and win against Atlanta. Threw for 400 in that game. Threw for 400 against Seattle, but they were down 15. What we're seeing here is that when the games are close, Dak does absolutely nothing. Now, all of a sudden, these teams race out to these big leads. They play defense differently, and then Dak gets going, and he throws for 400 yards. A lot of times they lose, but they're like, man, did you see that performance? Yeah, they were behind because when they needed Dak to be great early, so they didn't get behind, he was not. So I don't look at these stats and say, well, damn, man, I've been underrating Dak. I have not been underrating Dak. Dak is an average quarterback. That's what he is, Skip. He's a middle-of-the-pack quarterback. And I don't know if you're going to ever reap the benefits of what you paid for. You helped pay for this contract.
No, you did. You campaigned for him to get his money. Pay the man, said Shannon Sharpe.
They needed to pay the man.
Pay the man $75 million for 1 year. Thank you. Okay, after I read all these stats, the totality of them hit me so hard that I started to think maybe he's a little better than I'm thinking that he is. And I started to renew a little bit of hope because the stat that got me is that on the move last year, he led the league in passer rating, on the move.
Yeah.
And outside the numbers, on throws outside the numbers, he led the league in passer rating. Well, I'm not sure how that translated into the one-loss record because in the end, they lost. Well, they went 6-5 in their last 11 games, including the playoff loss at home to San Francisco.
Right.
Okay. But in the big picture, he has the most 400-yard-plus passing games since he entered the league.
Right.
He's got 9 of them.
Right.
But also, to your point, the biggest one is 502 in a game against Cleveland at Jerry World. This is Baker Mayfield we're talking about, that they trailed 41-14 after 3 quarters.
Right.
Well, now empty calories are going to happen, and they did.
Right.
Huge empty, enough to make you obese, right? and then remember the Dallas game at Seattle. It was actually the game before that Baker Mayfield game, and it comes right down to the wire. He ends up throwing for 472, but on the 3rd and long at the end of the game with 14 seconds left, he throws into the end zone to the wrong team. It gets picked off. And what did Jerry Jones suggest on his radio show 2 days later?
Russell Wilson makes that play.
And he also said Mahomes make that play. And he also went so far as to say Tony Romo makes that play.
He did say that.
Because if you can escape and throw it on the run, Dak escaped a little bit, but then he threw it quickly and it went to the wrong jersey.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Then the third one is the Green Bay game at home, the Aaron Rodgers game at Jerry World back in 2019. They trailed that game 24-0 mid-3rd quarter.
Right.
24-0? You're kidding.
Right.
Empty calories ensued, and he gets all the way to 463. Okay, then Philly. I'm going to give you the Philly game because it was the Amari breakout game in 2019 because it was at home in overtime.
Right.
He throws for 455. Well, it was sensational because it catapulted them to a division title and a home playoff win, his only one, over Russell Wilson in Seattle. Okay, so that's a good big one, right? And then here we go against the Atlanta home game.
Right.
It's 450 yards. You're so far down that
they were down 39-20 at one point, right?
It's 39-24 with 5 minutes left in the game. 39-24 at home.
Right.
You're kidding. It took the watermelon onside kick to make a miracle. It took a miracle finish for you. You should have lost that game to what became the worst pass defense in the history of pro football.
Correct.
Well, shouldn't he be on the list? You
Right.
should disqualify that game right there, right? Okay, now we get to another good game because the best game for Dak last year was he went to Belichick and he beat him.
Yes.
It took overtime.
Yes.
But if we could show what happened at the end of the game.
Because he had 71 yards in overtime to put him over 400.
This is the throw of the year for Dak Prescott to my guy CeeDee Lamb. Unfortunately, at the end of the game, he pulls up lame. But that ended the game. CeeDee's grandstanding out there with the ball.
Yep.
But, okay, that's, what is it, 445 yards. 445 against Belichick. Okay, that's a $75 million game, right? Okay, I'll give you that one because it felt like it was about to catapult you to greatness because it got you to 6-1, then they went all the way to 7-1. And then you know what the rest of the story was.
Well, Skip,
you fell off the table.
Don't you need a 300 game against the 49ers? You saw that what he did against the 49ers, Skip. That scored 17 points.
Well, it was just horrendous. You mean the playoff?
Yes.
Yeah.
23 or 43.
Okay, I'm going to finish this list because there's one at Detroit the Cowboy fans will remember because I do. It was 2019. He threw for 444. He's playing against Jeff Driscoll. That's the starting quarterback on the other side. Well, how can it's disqualified? Take it off the list. Then remember the New York Giants game that started 2019. It was the fireworks display of the first 3 games. It was the night Jerry said it's imminent that we get our deal done because he'd thrown for 405 against a Giants team that was on its way to going 4-12.
Right.
And you said garbage.
Yes,
You said the first 3 were garbage opponents, and you were right. Washington and Miami, they're just garbage opponents. And then here we go into contractual impasse.
Right.
And then the final game on the list at 4:03 was opening Thursday night.
Right.
At GOAT. I thought it was great because I had no expectations of Dak at that point.
Actually, Skip, even though they lost, I think that was probably one of the 2 or 3 best games of all the games that was on that list.
I might put it number 1. No, seriously, because you're against the defending champs in their place. And again, you were correct about this. You said that defense, you brought everybody back, but it just won't have the same edge that it had the year before. And it didn't have the same edge. And he kind of exposed it in
early
week
on.
1.
Yep.
But they lost.
Yep.
Because they often lose. So what do I have to show? He is 1-3 in playoff games.
Right.
Well, it's just not good enough. So all these numbers that you throw out there, they boil down to what happened last year when they rushed for 100+ yards. The team was 11-0. When it was under 500, under 100 yards, they went 1-5, and the only game they won was by Cooper Rush at Minnesota.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, so Dak was 0-5 last year when they didn't run for 100.
Everything that you said, throwing on the move, throwing outside of the pocket, the numbers are great. But how do they equate to winning?
That's it. In the end, I can't.
I mean, because a lot of guys that he's in front of, they won. You look at Mahomes, and you look at Brady, and you look at Rodgers. His stats are better than theirs, but he doesn't win.
Yeah, and in their 400-yard-plus games, they have winning records, and he doesn't.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, since he's coming in the league, he's 5-4, but over
5-4,
yeah. But the last 2 years, he's 2-3, in which he's thrown for 400 yards.
Yeah.
But Skip, you get down by 27 points, you get down by 20 points, you got to throw to get back into the game.
You called that.
Thank you for watching. You can subscribe here to get the latest from the show, and be sure to check out more of the best clips from Undisputed, or go watch a few other segments from our other shows on FS1.